Before you do that, can I
give an intro to looking at the camera, your name. Which one are you going to be reading from?
The one that wouldn't stand up very well.
Awesome. And then give a little context for exactly what you're reading.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm Kevin McKelvey. I'm a poet and writer from Indiana, and I'll be reading a poem from Indiana Nocturnes that I wrote with my friend Curtis Chrysler. We kind of combined, we had a bunch of Indiana poems that didn't fit into our other books. He's from Gary, I'm from the edge of a cornfield, and so it seems like we had this kind of fun urban-rural vibe. We went to graduate school together. He teaches at Purdue Fort Wayne in Fort Wayne, and so we alternate poems, then we have our own individual sections. In this one, I gotta find it first. This is actually a really old poem, but it's called Sweet Corn, $2. And actually it's probably closer to $3 or $4 now, or $9 depending on the farmer's market. So Sweet Corn, $2. My grandmother's 20 rows of sweet corn grew like a carpenter's square along the southeastern corner of her couple acres she and my grandpa retired to after tenant farming most of their lives. That half-acre garden grew enough corn and vegetables to can and freeze and take to friends, to ledger against the dry years, but never enough to sell from a pickup tailgate in a gas station's gravel lot at the 31 and 28 junction west of Tipton, even though I asked. My question avoided, like when I asked why my grandparents didn't own a farm. That $1 or $2 a dozen would have paid for the next year's seed, and asking an older boy to buy me a plastic-wrapped dirty mag from the gas station rack. Those wobbly lettered signs for sweet corn, spray-painted on cardboard or splintered plywood, stood for everything I wanted of my adolescence: pickup truck, cut-off t-shirt, seed company hat, biceps, cows and pigs to raise, to be a landowner's son. Detasseling, the only way I could make corn money, my mom never let me do because of the heat, dew, and corn rash, protecting me, or so she said, from ass-busting work or the indignity. Minimum wage was a fortune at 14. She'd detasseled herself and knew that corn tassels weren't the only things getting tugged at in the backs of co-ed buses fueled by older kids' snuck-in booze, Kool-Aid lips on Kool-Aid lips, alcohol hormones, the sophomore girl from 2 schools over who would let any boy feel the kernel between her legs. I don't know if that's appropriate for Indiana Humanities, but detasseling is going on right now. It's actually mostly done by migrant workers now, or machines, and so it's kind of interesting. But seed corn production is a big part of Indiana and central Indiana. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved sweet corn, and it's part of something I've done every summer since I was born.
Great. You did the idea of do everything. He said, "I'll never." Whenever you're ready.
Oh, I'm going to need your script. I don't remember it.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, okay. So wait, what do you want me to say? Sorry.
I am Kevin McKelvey, author of Dream Wilderness Poems and Indiana Nocturnes, and this is This or That.
Oh, okay. Hello. You ready? Okay. I'm Kevin McKelvey, author of Dream Wilderness Poems and Indiana Nocturnes. Shit, I said it wrong.
It's okay.
Indiana Nocturnes, and this is This or That.
do it one more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pull your hand back. Pull all the way back, and then put it over. No.
Over.
No, you can just put it over. It's not going to stay back. So put your hand all the way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Like so.
Yeah, there.
Okay. I might eventually learn how to do this. Okay. Try not to
take as many takes
fuck it
as
up.
we need, so you're good.
Okay. Okay. I'm Kevin McKelvey, and I'm the author of Dream Wilderness Poems and Indiana Nocturnes, and this is This or That.
Perfect. All right, hiking or scenic drives?
I don't know, the scenic drive on the way to the hike, I guess, but but hiking for sure. Just a lot of our natural areas in Indiana are really close to highways or roads, so it's pretty great to park. And within a mile, not even a mile, half mile, you're in the quiet of the woods. And so I really like a good hike, whether it's in the city or a couple-hour drive away.
Teaching or learning?
I think, well, again, I guess I'm cheating a little bit because I think the best teaching is learning along with the students. And so, I always try to assign new books each semester, so I'm always learning something new. And even stuff I've kind of learned 20, 25 years ago, I'm always learning something new about authors or authors I didn't know from movements that I've been teaching for decades.
Writing or reading?
I don't know. I guess I hate to say this, but neither. I kind of hate writing, but it's a chore. But I love the creativity of it, and I haven't been reading a lot lately. That is probably as much as I should. Too much distraction in the world, but it's probably not the answer you're looking for. But reading really does feed into writing. You have to read. You have to be a reader to be a writer. And so it's always good to find that inspiration in what other people are doing.
A man who has 2 books that doesn't like to write. All right, working in your own garden or community gardens?
So own garden or community gardens. I see it as a private space and a public space. My garden at home, where I was working earlier today, looks terrible, but it's growing things. And so I think the public gardening is always more rewarding just because you can share it with more people and it's always more accessible to more people.
And our last one, group discussions or personal reflection?
I don't know. I'm an introvert, so I got to go with personal reflection or one-on-one conversation.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, so for our questions, we're just gonna... I'm good. Alrighty. Would you like to do your intro again? Just your name and your books.
Oh, okay. I'm Kevin McKelvey from Indiana, and my books are Dream Wilderness Poems and Indiana Nocturnes.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a writer?
No, not at all. I wanted to be a doctor or a scientist or an ecologist or a farmer. I wanted to be a pig farmer when I was in 3rd grade. So, but I've always really enjoyed creativity. I took art lessons in Sheridan when I was a kid above the Five and Dime store. So I've always loved drawing and painting. And then I kind of found writing with some good middle school teachers who did some creative writing in our classes, and I'd always loved to read, and so that kind of just became a natural outlet for creativity. But it wasn't until I got to DePaul University, where I had a lot of really good writing teachers, that I discovered writing could be this career and a way to teach and a way to work in the public world. And so yeah, I've kind of fell into it that way and have been doing it ever since.
How do places in Indiana inspire your writing? Can you describe the process of writing poetry based on places?
So what's my place-based approach to writing? Well, first off, place is setting. And so if you think of some great novels or epic poetry or any of those things, the setting is a character, the place is a character. And so that's always been undergirding or supporting my work, but place in Indiana. I was born here. Some of my family's been here 200 years, or about 200 years. 190, I guess. But and I'm meant to leave, but I went to Illinois and then I came back, so it wasn't like I really left. And so it's really just been this deep engagement with place and history. There's always more to learn. The things that there's a lot of Indiana that has been kind of swept under the rug or kind of hidden. We don't have some of the best history in some places or some areas. And so it's just been just kind of doing that research, getting into archival work, finding old newspapers, talking to people, and then turning that into poetry, but also into essays or fiction or those kinds of things.
As a place-based poet, do you see yourself ever writing about other subjects, and why or why not?
As a place-based poet, will I write about other things? Yeah, of course. I've been lucky enough to be artist in residence or kind of visit other natural places. So what's the name of those mountains? Well, I guess the Ozarks, but what's the Buffalo River area of Arkansas. I've been out in the Cascade Mountains. I've been artist in residence at Iowa Rural National Park. And so all those places, and those are places where I kind of developed this, where it's like you get out into the ecosystems, you learn some of that history, track down publications from the National Park Service or the Nature Conservancy, kind of build things from that. So I've written about Costa Rica, all kinds of places. So it really does just becomes a lens that I use to look at a place and engage with a place. And I've also branched out into essays and nonfiction as well as fiction. I've been doing a lot of other multidisciplinary work, kind of outside of writing as well. But that approach to place has always been really key to what I do.
In Indiana Nocturnes, you write about the topics of race, class, relationships, and urban and rural issues in Indiana. What do you hope that readers take away from reading this collection of poems? So
with Indiana Nocturnes, Curtis and I, we were in the same grad school class. And so when we just kind of, he's from the city, I'm from the country, city mouse, country mouse, as Curtis would say, but we knew there's all these issues about race and class in Indiana. And it's not just this binary of black and white or city and country. And so with that book, it was, we finished grad school in 2004, so we first met in 2001. We're all in the same classes together. And maybe around 2004 or 5, we're just like, oh, we have these poems. Let's just do something with them. And so, because even in the early 2000s, so much of that racial history of Indiana had just kind of been forgotten or kind of brushed under the rug. And so I think it's really important to bring that to light. And we just happened to do it with poetry. And so, writing about lynchings, writing about kind of the disappearance of mostly black communities, segregation, kind of the desegregation, sundown towns. There's all this to write about in Indiana, and I think to bring it to light is the best way to deal with it and to hopefully make it better. And so hopefully some of that's happening with the work that we did.
So, do you think that poetry can inspire social change?
Yeah, with poetry as social change, I think the best art is political. It's not just about beauty. So if you go back to, other Indianapolis authors like Mari Evans or Etheridge Knight, Kurt Vonnegut, they all had social issues that they were dealing with, whether it's race or class or patriarchy or war, any of those topics, I think if it's, art should be beautiful, of course, whether it's a painting or a poem or a novel, but if there's not some sort of social aspect to it, then I don't think it's doing the work that it could. And so yeah, I think, the poets that I'm drawn to are the ones who are, either through satire or critique, they're dealing with some of those social issues.
What advice would you give to other poets?
My advice to poets is to read, and work. Never give up. I think that's it. You have to read a ton, so much. You can never read enough to do the work. But then you just have to do the work, and that work is writing, it's revising, it's getting feedback from other people, it's incorporating that feedback and learning from other people. And then I think the people who make it are the ones who don't give up, and they don't take no for an answer. They just kind of keep doing it. There's a lot of failure in it, kind of too much, I guess, but But the success of making something beautiful with your own creativity is really the best feeling as a human, and so it's worth pursuing. It's worth the heartache. It's worth the rejection. It's worth all the work that it takes, just because it is kind of the greatest thing we can do.
That was a really good answer. And lastly, who are your favorite Indiana authors?
I mean, who are my favorite Indiana authors? Over the last 20 years, I guess, since I really got back, I've just been obsessed with finding all the Indiana authors, and there really are so many. And that's what's great about Indiana Humanities and the work you guys do with all those authors, living and dead, just to support them and celebrate them. So there are so many. Probably the first one that really kind of was of course Kurt Vonnegut. Just my high school English teacher told me about him. He was semi-famous by then, and so it was, he's kind of the first one to really do that. Another Indiana author I went to college with, Matt Dellinger, he wrote a book about I-69, but he was in college. He's like, yeah, you could do this writing thing. Other authors, like a lot of my teachers at DePaul, like Tom Chiarella, Barbara Bean, Greg Schwipps, or Joe Heithaus, they really kind of helped me out in getting going with this. And then there's so many. I have to mention some Indiana adjacent authors like Wendell Berry and Morris Manning and Barbara Kingsolver from Kentucky, just because they're writing about rural issues in really great ways. But then there's just so many great people now, like Adrian Matika, who actually I know from grad school, but he's doing amazing work, and certainly other folks, like Ross Gay at IU. Yeah, there's just so many people. I mean, there's like every little college here has some awesome author, like Mark Hudson at Crawfordsville, or from Wabash, or Kevin Stein, who grew up in Anderson, but now he's a poet laureate of Illinois. Kathy Day from Ball State. I mean, there's just so many awesome people that I should be naming, but I'm not. But Indiana just has this rich literary tradition that's continuing all over the place, not just in college towns, but in small towns too. So it's really great to be a part of it.
Awesome. That wraps it up.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that was good.
Oh, yeah, I was.
Okay. So I made a map of Indiana watersheds, and so this is the Upper White River watershed. And I don't know, it just seems like a good idea. I love maps. I love writing about places, and I spent. What's up?
That truck. We can hear it. Yeah.
Sorry. Forget about that part. Let's see, where are we? So I'm Kevin McKelvey, and I am the creator of the Upper White River Watershed book map. And a book map to me is a map and a book or anthology. And so this is a map of the Upper White River Watershed. These are the creeks that I grew up around, like Sugar Creek. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Cicero Creek and Eagle Creek. I grew up in the Sugar Creek watershed that goes into the Wabash River. But this is the upper part of the White River. So you actually get, this is Ohio. Over here, where, oh wait, is that where the Wabash River starts? I'm sorry. I'm getting all my maps of rivers mixed up. But this is Muncie Creek over by Muncie. Cicero Creek kind of runs through Tipton. And this is kind of Indianapolis through here. And so these are all the creeks of central Indiana that follow or that flow into the White River. And so I found people writers who grew up in that watershed. And so we have Kevin Stein, who's a poet laureate of Illinois, who grew up in Anderson. Sean Lovelace is a professor at Ball State, spends a lot of time on Muncie Creek and the White River. Then we have folks from the Indy area, like Sarah Layden or Morris Broadus, who know these creeks from Indianapolis. And so these are all Indiana authors. They live in these places, and so these are just little stories or poems, or they're genreless, I guess. I mean, they're just kind of little. They could be a myth. They could be just some piece of writing about this creek, and then it all kind of comes together to make an anthology about the White River. Eventually, whenever I get a ton of time on my hands, I'd like to make other ones for the creeks that feed into the, make one for the Wabash River, make one for the East Fork of the White River. But this was really time consuming to lay out. And there might be a better way to do the map so that some of the places are on there as well. But it's kind of fun to think about these places, not in terms of the names we give cities or the boundaries we draw around counties, but to think about, to me, a watershed is kind of the true boundary. The divisions between that are the high ground. Rivers and creeks a lot of times become boundaries between counties or states or whatever. So it's kind of interesting to kind of overlay this on the political boundaries that we have, but really start to think of this more in terms of the watershed and the way that non-humans use places.